Let's go! I'm breaking down Arkansas versus LSU, offense versus defense today, and guess what? I'm coming to the game, and we're meeting up Friday night before it at a place called City Park. We'll get there around 7:30, so I hope to see all of your beautiful faces there. And make sure you bundle up. I think it's going to be cold. I don't like cold weather. So the obvious thing, Taylen Green is an explosive runner of the football. He's not quite Jaden Daniels level when it comes to a runner, but he's pretty close to it when it comes to explosive playmaking ability with his legs. One area where Arkansas has really struggled offensively is versus the blitz. In fact, they are way below expectation versus the blitz, according to our friend J. Bud Davis in Sports Information Solutions. So this blitz is actually pretty simple, but it's really hard to pick up if you are only going to do 5-man line protections. Now, there is a personal protector, so this is a 6-man protection. But you see what happens here is the slot corner blitzes. You would have never have thunk that he would have been blitzing from right here, and the linebacker at the line of scrimmage replaces him, okay? And you'll see that the offensive tackle is getting held up by this defensive end who at the last second cuts to the inside, and there's no one here to pick up this blitzer coming off the edge, okay? Now, what happens is Braylon Russell has to respect this interior blitzer, but he doesn't see this guy coming from the second level, and Taylen Green can lock in, and that's where you could start to get into trouble, okay? And you see he's throwing this football and getting absolutely dominated, but Arkansas was lucky to recover it. So for Arkansas fans, there is a linebacker by the name of Whit Weeks for LSU. He is an absolute animal on blitzes, and you'll see right here, here's another blitz. The first one, they brought 6 versus 5 guys. This time it is 5v5, but 2 players miss their blocks pretty badly. And what's funny here is Taylen Green still had a good opportunity to throw this football to Isaiah Satania. And right here, obviously, and we've covered this play quite a few times, you want to back up here to give him more time or to give yourself a better angle to make this throw. But he was late on it, and it ended up being a pick six going the other way. So if I'm LSU, I am bringing the freaking heat, baby. All right, so let's break down this play from LSU. But before we do that, there is one play design that I've written up on Patreon, patreon.com/LSU football, that Bobby Petrino has actually run before to beat LSU. And let me know, Arkansas fans, would you like me to start an Arkansas Patreon? The quarterback for South Alabama, Gio Lopez, is very explosive as a runner as well, and also has issues versus a blitz, okay? So LSU actually gets in an exotic alignment. These are actually 3 defensive ends and 2 inside backers, and they brought an extra defensive back on to the field. And what they're doing here is they're actually only bringing 4. They back out one of these backers. So in theory, this is just, a typical 4-man rush, but it is also, in theory, still a blitz. So 30 backs out, and you can see here, Whit Weeks goes to the inside. They're twisting around an end right here. And as many Arkansas fans know, you guys have really struggled with games, right? And offensive line communication. It's been a little bit better this year compared to last year, but you not only get beat by blocks, you get unblocked players by the design of the pressure itself. So the last play was still 4-man rushing, but it wasn't a traditional 4-man rush. It was a lot of eye candy. This time it is just traditional 4-man rush here with a backer coming in late. And the issue here is this is not the worst pass protection versus Nick Scorton here, but it's really poor quarterback play from Taylen Green, right? He loves to roll out to the right when he's got a good pocket here. Okay, now it doesn't help that Jerry's World design is blinding the QB, but he does have a decent pocket here to step up and run or find someone else, but you'll see that he actually runs into the pressure. So Taylen Green's pocket presence can really hurt, and I mean hurt, Arkansas in this game versus LSU's elite pass rush. All right, same situation here, this time versus LSU last year in 2023, and this is LSU's probably the best player on the team this year has been Braden Swinson, right? Their pass rusher has 7 sacks, and you'll see that Brady Cook makes the same mistake that Taylen Green makes, and when you're going up against Braden Swinson, he is a closer. He gets the strip sack, and this practically ended things for Missouri, okay? And that's why you've really, really, really got to help out your protection. And Swinson, number 4, this is Savion Jones, who had a big game versus Arkansas a few years ago in 2022. Get a play action fake, and you'll see that 2 guys are assigned to Swinson. You get a tight end and another tight end, and it still doesn't freaking matter. There's a blitz mixed in. Here's Whit Weeks, the guy that we just highlighted a minute ago. He splits this and causes a lot of havoc up the middle, so it's really tough to step up, okay? You get a nice rush here from Savion Jones, and then obviously this double team just got eaten alive right here from Braden Swinson, and once again, he's a closer. He not only sacks you, he gets the strip as well. And take a look at this, man. This is so spicy, and look at the aesthetic here. You got the arm sleeve and the one leg sleeve, baby. You gotta freaking love it. You got the towel, the single-digit number, and it was Harold Perkins who dominated you guys a few years ago. It could very well be Swinson in this game. I do expect a lot of zone read from Bobby Petrino, and LSU's going to have to be ready for it. This was a good pull read right here from Taylen Green because he sees that there's no contain over here, and this is where things can get spicy, right? You have to be able to contain this guy. He could, at a moment's notice, house any one of these zone read pulls, and obviously this is a huge explosive running game in a critical juncture of this. Let's chat run game, right? The one thing you must do versus a Bobby Petrino offense is pretty much the same thing you have to do versus any defense, which is stay in your gaps, okay? So this was the big play when Taylen Green's hurt. He's out of the game. And the mistake was actually made by James Pierce. Now, as many of you know, James Pierce of Tennessee is normally a defensive end, but they move him into a 4-eye, 3-ish technique to fill this B gap, okay? So Arkansas basically in just a 5-man alignment here. If you look at this pre-snap, Tennessee's got every gap accounted for. This gap is accounted for. This one's accounted for. This DT chooses this gap or this gap. He decides to go through here. This Mike is taking over this A gap, Pierce in this B gap, and then the edge player right here, okay? But watch what happens. James Pierce actually dominates the offensive guard here. So watch what happens. The run blocking here actually isn't all that amazing. It's just Tennessee gets sloppy in their gap assignments, okay? So you'll see right here that the nose tackle does a good job blowing this offensive guard back into the backfield, okay? So every gap is accounted for. The problem here is 2 things. The defensive end gets caught way too far upfield, which widens this gap right here. And then the second thing is Pierce, an end, peeks to the inside. He decides to go to the inside instead of sitting in this gap. He peeks, as you can see, and then that opens things up for Russell to run through. Okay, this isn't anything revolutionary. I'm not giving out any secrets for either team here. When you get out of your gaps and you get sloppy in your run fits, teams will make you pay. All right, so a lot of South Carolina fans are familiar with Rocket Sanders, okay? This is practically the same thing, but a little bit different, okay? This was LSU's last true road game, all right? So this DT right here, Ahmad Bro, like the Tennessee play, LSU pre-snap has every gap accounted for, in particular to the play side, all right? And you notice these blocks are actually getting blown up, right? This center is getting blown up by this defensive tackle, Ahmad Bro, a really talented true freshman. But you see, he peeks out of the gap that he's responsible for, and it opens up a huge rushing lane, okay? You have to maintain gap integrity versus any rushing scheme, but in particular, a Bobby Petrino rushing scheme, which Brian Kelly complimented profusely at his press conference. And then, of course, one thing LSU did a good job versus Ole Miss was making the touchdown saver. So, Who do I think's going to win? I honestly do believe LSU has the upper hand, but the gap between these two teams wouldn't be as wide as you would have initially thought, right? And obviously, when you take a look, this is a very simple concept. This is mesh. Obviously, every team runs mesh in second and mediums, a third and long situation. Something else that's interesting about this play is that there is pre-snap motion. Arkansas is about league average when it comes to pre-snap motion, and this is a guy that draws everything for Arkansas. It's Andrew Armstrong, right? He draws two players on the mesh, and that leaves Lucas obviously wide open. And the thing about Bobby is, well, this Arkansas offensive line is way better than last year's group that LSU, quite frankly, just dominated. The play concepts, though, are so much better that Taylen is able to find open guys quick enough to where he's not actually getting hit, right? So, look, do I think this Arkansas offense has an upper hand on this LSU defense? I think it's about even, especially considering how good LSU has been in games. So, for Arkansas to win this game, Taylen Green just needs to complete the gimmies, right? He just makes too many of these mistakes. He has not one but two touchdowns here. Monty Harrison, LSU fans, he is 29 years of age, crazy story. And he has a touchdown right here if he wants it as well. And he obviously is not all that gifted as a thrower. Now, he does have a cannon, but, you know, he hit him in stride. That's a touchdown. Hit the guy back there. It's a touchdown. Arkansas has gotten off to better starts than LSU this year. And, you know, the thing that's going to be interesting if you're an Arkansas fan is this feels like a game where the Hogs are going to hog, right? They'll jump out to a lead and then somehow, some way, find a way to lose it late, okay? Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with that. I'm not just saying that to get a rise out of y'all, but it kind of feels like that's the direction where this is going because under Brian Kelly, LSU has been straight ice water in their veins in the second half and fourth quarter of games, okay? It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. Now, down below, once again, we had the bonus breakdown. And Arkansas fans, sign up for this month. See if you like my Patreon breakdowns. And I will start an Arkansas Patreon like my LSU Patreon. Ask any of my LSU patrons. Absolutely love the Discord and all that stuff. And tonight, we are doing a New York strip. Let's go. I got it from Walmart as well.